Hey there, Jenn Lawlor here, and in today's video, let's talk about healing trauma, childhood wounds, and really being able to move beyond being a slave to your emotions and growing into a place where you feel a deep sense of inner freedom, contentment, authenticity, and joy. It all really just comes down to reparenting yourself when difficult emotions are active in your consciousness. In other words, it all comes down to how you relate to yourself when you're angry, when you're jealous, when you're super ashamed of yourself, when you feel ugly or unworthy, or when you feel really down and sad, even depressed. You get the point. So here's the deal. We've grown up in a society that has taught us some pretty goofy things about emotions and how to relate to them. We've grown up in a society that tells us directly and indirectly that feeling negative emotions is bad or somehow not the right experience to be having. We're taught that being angry is bad. If we're sad, we're told to cheer up. Don't feel bad, be happy. So when we feel bad, our culture tells us that we shouldn't feel this way. If you're depressed, there's something wrong with you. If you're angry a lot, you've got issues, you've got problems. It's been drilled into us and drummed into us our entire lives that feeling these negative emotions is bad. Therefore, we're programmed. We're programmed to do everything we can to avoid feeling them. We're trained not to feel. We're told not to feel. And this is the problem. You've been taught by your parents, friends, teachers, media, movies, and really just about everywhere except on my YouTube channel and a growing group of enlightened beings who preach otherwise. You've been taught to relate to your emotions in an antagonistic way. And not just difficult emotions either, even positive ones. We hold on to them and we put so much pressure on ourselves to feel up all the time. So when we have a moment of joy or a moment of contentment, there's all this pressure to keep it going. Our relationship, even with these positive emotions, has friction. It's just in the opposite direction to what we have with difficult emotions. And speaking of which, with difficult emotions, the message that we send them, the message we send ourselves when difficult emotions arise, can basically be summed up by, how do I get rid of this? What's wrong with me for feeling this way? Or why do I feel like this? Which is really just another way of saying, why am I feeling this wrong way to feel? So can you see how the way we've been taught to relate to our emotions is really pretty wacky? Imagine for a moment that you're a mom. Maybe, like me, you are a mom, maybe you're not, but I want you to imagine for a moment that you're a mom or a dad to a little 3-year-old girl. And that little 3-year-old of yours has just tried hopping on one foot, and she isn't able to hold her balance. In absolute frustration, she comes to you, stomping her feet and bursting into tears. Now, if you're like 99.9% of parents, and of course there's no judgment here, but if you're like most parents, your response is going to be something like, "Oh, sweetie, it's okay. Don't be sad. You're going to get it. Don't worry." And your intention is going to be all about making your sweet little girl who you love so much to help her feel better. But you see, in that kind intention of yours, in you wanting to see your daughter feeling happy, you're rejecting her frustration. You're teaching her that you can't be with her sadness. You can't be with her disappointment, with her frustration. Something's wrong with those emotions. And this is how this insidious message gets thoroughly implanted into our subconscious minds. And when this example, and there are so many more and lots of others that are outright abusive, but when we grow up in a society that continually rejects us when difficult emotions are active within us, we learn to relate to ourselves in the same way. And over time, what happens is not only do we lose access to the lessons and the wisdom that's contained within these emotions, and therefore the growth opportunities that they present, but we also end up with a lot of stuck, unprocessed emotions that interfere with our enjoyment of our lives. So now let's talk about how to reparent your emotions in healthy and healing ways. Honestly, it's really pretty simple. Let's go back to the example I used. If that frustrated, hopping little girl comes to you, stomping her feet, tears running down her face, I want you to acknowledge that this is huge for her. Her emotions have flooded her little body, and in that moment in time, she feels angry and sad. So what I want you to do is I want you to acknowledge her feelings. Oh, sweetie, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Here, let me hold you. And then you simply take her in your arms and hold her while she sobs or stomps her feet. You hold her probably for as little as 30 seconds because little kids are these emotional processing rock stars. But you hold her until the emotion has digested and she has returned to her regulated, joyful self who's ready to skip off and return to her hopping practice. When we parent a dysregulated, emotionally charged child in this way, what we're doing is providing a non-judgmental, empathic container, a holding space for our child, and all of the emotional energy that's coursing through them, we're allowing that energy to digest and resolve so that they can quickly return to a regulated state and go off and return to their contented, curious, joyful selves. You likely didn't get this kind of parenting. I know I certainly didn't. And so now you're a grown woman or man with a relationship to your emotional self that needs some work. In other words, you need to reparent your emotions. And what that practically means is that when you notice emotion active within yourself, you need to meet your emotion directly in your body and provide a non-judgmental space, a holding space for that emotion to digest and resolve. If you'd like more direction on specifically how to do this, I have just the video for you. It's a mini healing session where I'll guide you through exactly how to reparent your emotions. And you can find the link for that video right up here. I'll also leave a link down in the description box below. Go check it out. You can bookmark it and use it as a really important and useful resource for you to practice shifting your relationship to your emotions and therefore to yourself. So now I want to hear from you. Down in the comments, let me know what you do when you encounter difficult emotions. Also, if you want to learn more about my unique and super powerful approach to digesting and resolving the stuck emotions and limiting beliefs that are forming the roots of your inner struggles, I've got a free training that goes into much greater depth, and you can find the link for that training below this video in the description. There's also a link to my channel. I would love to see you over there. I've got a bunch of videos all on the topic of resolving inner conflicts so you can live a happier, more peaceful inner life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.